This is Stacie. I'm here with Allie, and we are wrapping up how to have a successful day. That's what we're talking about this month. And basically, it's the idea of using mindset training every single day in order to set yourself up for success. And so this week, we are talking about how to believe something new or how to help your gymnast actually think positively. You've all done mindset work where you've tried thought swapping or, tried to help them think positively, and it doesn't work. They don't actually think that new thing, right? You're like, okay, you need to think positively. What's a thought that you could be thinking? And then they don't actually believe that new thought. And so it doesn't help them. We hear this a lot about coaches who are like, I've tried mindset work before and it doesn't help. But here's the deal. Asking somebody to just believe a new positive thought without the actual steps and progressions to get there is like asking them to do a skill up on the high beam that they've never learned how to do on the floor. Like learning to believe something new is a skill set that requires a progression of thought work in order to get to the new belief. And it requires practice of those progressions. And so what's happened is we hear, oh, we need to help them believe something new, but we haven't actually learned how to do that. And so we just ask them to start believing that new thing without any practice getting there, without any progressions. And then we're like, well, it didn't work. Well, it wouldn't work to just ask them to get up and do a skill on the high beam that they don't even know how to do on the floor either. So what we're going to teach you is some of our one of our favorite progressions, our favorite kind of drill tools that you can use in order to help your gymnast actually think something new. And it's called the thought ladder. So Allie, you want to introduce it?
Yeah. Okay. So a new belief is just a thought you think over and over again. And we've spent a lot of time this whole month talking about like getting thoughts out and how it makes you feel and all the things that come with that, right? So we are now in a place where we understand our feelings are not coming from the skill or the event. They're coming from our thoughts about that skill or event. And you can't fake positive, right? If you start trying to say positive things that you don't believe, your brain just brings it back to this negative. And when we are talking about all that, we are talking about creating powerful fuel. And what the gymnasts actually want is to feel confident all the time. I just want to feel confident. If I felt confident, then I'd be able to do it. And our goal is to help them find that fuel to help them get to confidence. So that's really what we're going to talk about. Our thought ladder is going to be that building up to confidence. I am going to use the example of bars because I actually get this one a lot because we all know that pretty much every event is a round off back handspring and a front handspring until you get to bars. Then it's like this whole new world. And the girls that struggle a little more with bars totally believe that it is just hard. Bars is way harder than all the other events, and I'm not going to be able to do it. And it comes out in all of their events. And so what they really want is to believe that bars is easy, that bars isn't a problem. Bars is just like the other events. And if they believe that bars was easy, then they would feel confident on bars, right? Because they believe that floor is easy. They feel great on floor. And so if they could believe that bars was easy, then they would feel confident. But we all know they're not going to show up, like Stacie said, to practice the next day and just be like, you know what? Now that I realize that I think bars is hard, I'm just going to think it's easy and everything's going to be fine. If we could do that for your gymnasts, we would be billionaires. But that's not quite what we do is magically give them. We take them on the steps. Okay. And so the first step is to recognize that it's a thought. So this is back to lesson 1. I notice that I'm thinking that bars is hard. And Stacie, this is your favorite step. Why is this your favorite step?
Yeah, because we did a whole episode about this back on week 2 of this month. So go back and listen if you haven't. But until your brain believes that it's just a thought, your brain doesn't think it can be changed, right? As long as it's a fact that bars is hard, there's nothing that can be done about it. Mm-hmm. As long as it's a fact that bars is hard for me, there's nothing that can be done about it. It's just fact. The sky is blue. It's 90 degrees outside. I live in Orlando. bars is hard. And so the first thing they have to do is they have to, and that's a neural pathway that their brain has created, and they believe it's a fact. And so in order to start creating a different neural pathway, they have to believe it's a thought. And so that's the first step, is just working on getting their brain to a point where it believes that it's just a thought that bars is hard and it's not actually a fact.
Yes. And that's going to lead them to, because when they believe bars is hard, they feel incapable and overwhelmed maybe, or like embarrassed, or
defeated.
Defeated. That's a really good one that we hear a lot, actually. So like they have these like really heavy emotions with that, and they try and like brush them aside, but that's really what's coming up. When they get to like, I notice that I'm thinking, it allows them to feel maybe a little bit more curious or open, or even just a little more neutral about it. Like, oh, that's a thought. And a little less like defeated, this is going to overtake me. Okay. So that's like a move up on that ladder, right? We're moving up a little bit, a little more energy that we have now from defeated to a curious. Okay. Then the next step that you're going to take is starting to transition to the new thought and just allowing yourself to think that it's possible. It is possible for me to believe that bars is easy. Someday I will believe that bars is easy. Okay. So just saying that, like, I'm not there yet, that's fine. But like, I understand that it's just a thought, and it's possible that I could have that thought someday. And that I often get like that feeling of open from girls during that time period. And so they're now moving from bars is hard to, I notice that I'm thinking bars is hard, to it is possible for me to believe that bars is easy. Okay. See how each one just builds off another, and each one feels just a little bit better. And the next one we go to is I am learning. I'm in the process of. Okay. So this is now like, you're not just saying that it magically could happen someday. Maybe it's in your future. It's saying, okay, I'm actually in the grind of it. I am starting to understand how to believe, and I'm in the process of, and I'm learning how to believe that bars is easy. And that one's going to give you even a little bit more energy. Stacie, do you have some feelings that come up for some of your gymnasts in this stage?
I'm learning to believe. Yeah, it's just kind of neutral. I can't think of the actual emotions. They're kind of like, okay, this is happening. I think they're starting to get hopeful.
I get hopeful a lot. Yeah. I get like some of the optimistic or motivated, some of those ones, because they're seeing just like a teaser of it. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, I'm like actually like kind of getting this. Yeah. Right. So that's the fun part. And then we move up to the one that is just beneath the full belief, but we're at like more often than not, I believe that bars is easy. I think that one is a very popular one where they're just saying, like, for the most part, this is where I'm at. Yeah. And, you know, not 100% of the time, that's fine. But more days than not, I believe that bars is easy. And that's where they start feeling trusted, maybe calm, okay, capable. I get some of those, like, you know, pretty strong emotions towards like believing that it's actually there. Yeah. And then the last one is just their whole belief. Bars is easy. And then that almost always is confident. Yeah. Yeah. The top emotion that they're going for, I would say 90% of the time ends up being like a confidence or a proud. Yeah. So it ends up being one of those. And so the goal or capable. Yeah. Yeah. The goal is to have them write this ladder out. Where do they want to be? Where are they now? We write these steps out, and I have them read it out loud. And we've talked about how if your brain doesn't believe it, it kind of fights back, right? And so I always say, like, after you read it out loud and sit with it for a second, does your brain argue with you? Does it disagree? Does it kind of try and bully you out of it? Or is it kind of like, yep. Like, yep, I agree. Sounds good. And you want to read until you get to that point where your brain's trying to bully you out. Okay. Because that's the one you don't quite believe yet. And that you are at the one step below and you're working towards the one where it's bullying you. And every single day you're going to practice that belief. And so it's really fun because the more you practice it, like Stacie always says, the neural pathways are actually forming and your brain is going to automatically start agreeing with it. And then once your brain agrees with it, you can move up on the ladder. Now, they're going to have good days and bad days, right? Like that's still going to happen. But for the most part, this is going to build stepping stones up to that belief that they want to have and they're trying to have. And most likely they'll stay at the more often than not for quite a while. That's one that we tend to see them at the longest because your brain is still trying to create evidence for the last one. So Stacie, do you have anything to add to that? I know that's kind of a lot. It's hard without some visuals, but really just taking them to the steps of, I notice that I'm thinking it's possible that I am learning how more often than not than the whole belief.
Yeah. So we teach this in detail, all of these tools that we've been going over this last month in a course called Mindset 101. And we basically help the gymnast put together one specific tool that really brings these different principles together that then they can use again and again and again to understand their brain and to coach their brain. And so just want to let you know that like we would love to teach your gymnasts how to do this in our course Mindset 101, but we also really want you to have the tools as well. And so we do these, that's where we do these this podcast, this YouTube channel is to give you the tools, but we know that sometimes the idea of trying to, the thought of like, oh, now I've got to go and teach my gymnasts like a whole new thing on top of all the gymnastics I need to teach them. Like we teach them these things. If you want to send your gymnasts our way, we're happy to help them learn these tool sets in Mindset 101 so that they really have a good, strong foundation. We call it our go-to complex. So just like you have your complex that teaches them the shapes and the movements that they need to take to every single event, we teach them this basic foundational mindset tools that then they can take into all of these and use in all of these different ways. So,
and I do recommend quick that as a coach, you do try this for yourself too. And I think that'll help you understand how it could help your gymnast. And like even a belief of like, I love my body, or I am an amazing coach, or I know whatever you feel like you want to do, I would pick one and try some of these this whole month for yourself and experience it. Because the more you experience it, the easier it is, one, to help your kids with it, and two, to see how we can also help them.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys next month where we jump on into a brand new topic. Bye.